If your life were a faithful mirror of what you observe the most, what would it be reflecting right now? The truth is that what you perceive in the external world is not just an objective representation of reality, it is an interpretation shaped by your focus and consciousness. Your mind does not register everything around you, but only what it considers relevant based on what has repeatedly received your attention. This means that your daily experience is not merely the result of the events that happen, but of how your consciousness interacts with them. What you continuously observe defines the patterns of thought, emotion, and behavior that guide your life. Since ancient times, spiritual masters and researchers of the mind have understood that directed attention can transform human experience. Today, modern science reinforces this understanding, showing that the brain creates cognitive shortcuts based on what you frequently notice and reinforce. In the next few minutes, you will understand how your observation influences your vibration, how your mind filters reality, and most importantly, how you can take control of this process to align your attention with what you want to manifest. If your attention has the power to create, what do you want to build from now on? Why your attention defines your destiny. Every thought you hold in your mind, every detail your consciousness chooses to perceive, is shaping the trajectory of your life. What many fail to realize is that attention is not just a passive perception mechanism, it is an active channel of creation, a determining factor in what manifests in your experience. Energy follows focus. Whatever receives your attention strengthens, expands, and becomes a dominant pattern in your reality. This happens because your mind acts as a selective filter, organizing the flow of information and highlighting everything that resonates with what you frequently observe. Imagine that your consciousness is like the lens of a camera. What you decide to focus on becomes sharper, more present, while everything else blurs into irrelevance. If this lens is directed toward worries, scarcity, and difficulties, your perception will be filled with these elements, and your vibration will adjust to reinforce them. But if the same lens is focused on growth, solutions, and new possibilities, your mind reorganizes to see opportunities where there were once limitations. The issue is not just what you see, but how your consciousness interacts with what is being observed. Two individuals may experience the same situation, but depending on their focus, the outcomes will be completely different. But how does this happen? What you notice and absorb is not a random process. It is a response to what your mind has already been trained to perceive. Since childhood, your attention has been shaped by experiences, beliefs, and patterns absorbed from your environment. Over time, these patterns have become automatic programming, causing your focus to fall on certain aspects of life without you even realizing it. That is why many people feel trapped in repetitive cycles, because their thoughts follow the same path, their attention reinforces the same patterns, and their vibration remains tuned to the same frequency. They do not realize that it is not reality that repeats itself, but rather the focus that remains fixed on the same elements. The good news is that this programming can be changed. When you begin to consciously observe where your attention is being invested and make deliberate adjustments, your mind responds to this new orientation and starts to organize your perception differently. This does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending certain situations do not exist, but rather becoming aware of what is being reinforced in your field of perception and deciding where to place your energy. Many spiritual teachings state that life is not simply a series of random events. It is a direct response to the vibrational frequency you emit, and this frequency is determined by what you repeatedly observe. If your attention is always tuned to fear, your vibration will be adjusted to that frequency, and the universe will respond with situations that confirm that perception. But if you learn to stabilize your mind and direct it toward what you want to manifest, the very fabric of reality begins to reorganize to reflect this new energy. This means your destiny is not a fixed script. It is a continuous reflection of what you choose to perceive and strengthen with your attention. Now, the big question is, where has your attention been invested? And how can you use it more consciously to create the life you truly desire? In the next few minutes, you will learn how both science and spirituality explain this mechanism and how to use this knowledge to transform your reality intentionally. What you see expands. The universe operates through patterns and connections, responding to how each individual interacts with reality. But what determines this interaction? What makes some people perceive opportunities where others see only difficulties? The answer lies in focus, how the mind filters and organizes the information it receives. Since ancient times, spiritual traditions have taught that whatever you focus your attention on expands in your experience. Sacred texts and mystical teachings describe reality as a projection of consciousness, where the observer directly influences what is perceived. With advancements in science, especially in quantum physics and neuroscience, this ancient wisdom has begun to be validated in impressive ways. Scientific discoveries show that there is no fixed, objective reality, but rather a field of infinite possibilities that adjusts according to an individual's observation and interpretation. In quantum physics, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and the double-slit experiment demonstrate that mere observation alters the behavior of subatomic particles. In other words, the act of observing modifies reality at a fundamental level. This means that the observer's consciousness does not merely perceive reality, it actively influences it. If this happens at the microscopic level, what prevents the same principle from operating on a larger scale in everyday life? Quantum science suggests that the universe is a malleable field, where the observer's attention and intention play an essential role in the manifestation of events. This perspective directly aligns with millennia-old spiritual teachings that claim the external world reflects an individual's internal state, while quantum physics explores the most subtle aspects of reality. Neuroscience explains how the human mind filters and organizes information. The brain receives billions of stimuli every second, but only consciously processes a small fraction of this total. This happens because the reticular activating system, ERAS, located in the brainstem, acts as a selective filter, highlighting only what is considered relevant to the individual. This filter is not fixed. It adjusts based on thought patterns and what receives the most attention. For example, if a person constantly reinforces thoughts of fear and insecurity, the RAS begins to identify and prioritize stimuli that confirm this perception, creating a reality filtered through these emotions. The same happens in the opposite direction. If someone directs their attention toward growth, well-being, and opportunities, their brain adjusts its perception to identify and reinforce these patterns. This means that, in practice, your external reality is a direct reflection of the connections and filters your mind has reinforced over time. In spirituality, there is a deep understanding that human consciousness is not just a passive receiver of reality, it is an active creator. Spiritual masters from various traditions have always emphasized that focused attention has the power to shape life. Mantras, affirmations, and guided meditations are ways to condition the mind to tune into a specific vibration, which in turn attracts experiences aligned with that energy. The law of vibration, taught in various esoteric traditions, states that everything in the universe has an energetic frequency, and conscious attention is the key to resonating with the desired reality. This explains why individuals who cultivate a spiritual practice based on presence, conscious observation, and elevated thinking tend to experience profound changes in their lives. By choosing to focus on states of peace, gratitude, and expansion, their perception of reality aligns with that frequency, and their experience begins to reflect this transformation. If your attention has the power to influence reality, the essential question becomes, are you using this power consciously, or are you allowing it to function on autopilot? The human mind is always observing and interpreting the world, but often this process occurs without full awareness. As a result, inherited perception patterns, limiting beliefs, and external stimuli end up defining how reality manifests. The good news is that this process can be directed. When you make your focus conscious and intentional, you begin to notice significant changes in your life. In the next few minutes, you will learn how to identify and modify these automatic patterns, creating a new perceptual field that aligns your observation with the experiences you want to manifest. How does your focus change your perception? If you've ever gone through a phase in life where it seemed like only a certain type of experience kept repeating, whether financial struggles, relationship difficulties, or behavioral patterns, you may have asked yourself, why does this keep happening? The answer is not just in external circumstances, but in how your mind filters and organizes reality. Human perception is not an exact mirror of the world, but rather a reflection of what the mind believes to be relevant. What you see as reality is, in fact, a selective composition of information that your brain chooses to notice and reinforce. And this process happens so automatically that we rarely realize we are trapped in a specific observation pattern. But how does this filter work? And more importantly, how can it be adjusted to align your perception with the reality you want to create? Every day we are bombarded with millions of sensory stimuli. However, your brain cannot process everything simultaneously. To manage this information overload, it uses a selective mechanism, a filtering system based on your beliefs, past experiences, and current focus. Think about this. Have you ever bought a new phone model or car and suddenly started seeing it everywhere? That doesn't mean those objects didn't exist before. They were always there, but they only became noticeable when your brain classified them as relevant. This phenomenon is called attention bias, and it affects absolutely everything you perceive. Now apply this concept to any area of your life. If your mind is programmed to focus on problems, it will find problems. If it is trained to notice opportunities, they will start appearing more frequently. The difference is not in the external world. It is in how your mind interprets and filters that world. Imagine two people walking through the same city. One sees traffic congestion, pollution, and chaotic energy. The other notices incredible architecture, cozy cafes, and unexpected reunions with old friends. Both are in the same environment, but each is experiencing a completely different reality because their mental filters are distinct. This means that it is not the world that needs to change for your experience to improve. It is your focus. And this shift in perception does not happen by chance, but through deliberate training of your observation. To change your reality, you need to change the filters your mind uses to interpret the world. This can be done through small shifts in how you direct your attention. Instead of looking for reasons to worry, try seeking signs of progress, even in the small details of your day. Instead of reinforcing scarcity patterns, start noticing moments when there is flow and abundance around you. Instead of passively absorbing the information that comes to you, ask yourself, does this strengthen or weaken the reality I want to create? Over time, this new way of observing the world creates a new internal pattern, and your experience begins to reorganize to reflect this transformation. The reality you experience is not fixed. It is a reflection of what your mind reinforces daily. If you want to change your experience, start by observing your own observation. Ask yourself, what has my attention been focused on lately? Is this perception creating the life I desire? How can I train my focus to notice opportunities that previously went unnoticed? By adjusting your perception, your mind becomes a channel for conscious transformation. And over time, your reality will begin to reflect this new way of observing the world. In the next few minutes, you will discover how to break the cycle of negative focus and escape the autopilot of your perception. Getting out of autopilot. If you've ever found yourself repeating the same thought patterns and facing similar challenges throughout life, know that this doesn't happen by chance. Many people feel trapped in a reality that seems to repeat itself endlessly, unaware that this repetition is driven by an unconscious mechanism, conditioned focus. The human mind operates like a program running on autopilot, filtering reality based on previously established patterns. If these patterns are negative, life will seem full of difficulties. If, on the other hand, these filters are adjusted to a more expansive perception, the experience of the world changes completely. But how do these patterns form? From childhood, we absorb influences from our environment, learn emotional reactions based on what we see and hear, and form beliefs about what is possible or impossible. These early perceptions create a mental framework that over time solidifies and begins to function automatically. This means that many of the decisions we make, the reactions we have, and even the opportunities we perceive are filtered through this conditioning. The problem is that when this process happens unconsciously, it can keep us stuck in a cycle of limitation, reinforcing a negative view of reality. The fundamental question is, how do you break this cycle? The answer lies in conscious observation. The first step to interrupting the mind's autopilot is to become aware of what you are focusing on. Often, simply noticing a repetitive pattern is enough to begin weakening it. This happens because when you bring attention to an unconscious behavior, you gain the choice to stop and redirect it. When you notice yourself falling into a negative pattern, pause and ask yourself, what is triggering this thought? Is this focus serving my growth, or is it just reinforcing a negative emotional state? How can I redirect my attention to something more productive? These questions aren't meant to deny reality or suppress emotions, but rather to train the mind to step out of autopilot and enter a state of conscious presence. The next step is to gradually replace negative focus with patterns that align with what you want to experience. This doesn't mean simply thinking positive and ignoring real challenges, but rather training your perception to find solutions, see possibilities, and broaden your vision of any situation. A practical exercise for this is the conscious redirection of focus technique. 1. Whenever you notice that your attention is fixated on a problem, pause for a moment and take a deep breath. 2. Then make a conscious effort to find a positive aspect or a learning opportunity within the situation. 3. Throughout the day, repeat this exercise in different moments, reinforcing this new way of interacting with reality. Over time, this training starts to reprogram your mind to observe the world differently. Instead of focusing on what's wrong or lacking, you begin to notice life's natural flow, the opportunities that arise, and paths that previously seemed invisible. Breaking the cycle of negative focus doesn't mean denying difficulties. It means changing how you interact with them. When your observation becomes conscious and intentional, your experience of the world transforms profoundly. In the next few minutes, you will learn advanced strategies to strengthen this new state of perception and solidify this change permanently. How to direct your attention toward what you want to manifest. If everything around you responds to your attention, then how you observe is not just a detail. It is the key piece to transforming your experience. Every day, your perceptions are bombarded by external stimuli that silently shape your vibration and reality. The issue is not just what you are observing, but how you are observing it. Conscious observation is a state of full presence, where you deliberately choose where to place your attention and how to interpret what you perceive. Unlike passive observation, which merely registers events without questioning them, active observation allows you to direct your energy toward realities aligned with your desires and intentions. Conscious observation is not just about noticing what happens, but choosing how to interpret each experience. This means that your external reality is not fixed. It is flexible and adjusts according to how you interact with it. The first step to strengthening this type of perception is to develop clarity about what you truly want to experience. Many people say they want change, but they don't pay enough attention to the signs that indicate paths toward that transformation. When you define a clear and intentional focus, your mind starts working in your favor, identifying patterns and opportunities that previously went unnoticed. The second step is to train your mind to perceive positive signs around you. Reality always contains a variety of possibilities. The question is which ones you choose to validate with your attention. If you condition yourself to see patterns of progress, your brain begins prioritizing this information, making new opportunities more evident. And the third step is to maintain consistency in directing your observation. Your mind needs repetition to consolidate new perceptual filters. This means that, at first, redirecting your focus toward higher aspects of reality may be challenging. But over time, this practice becomes natural, and your perception starts to reflect this new way of observing the world. Conscious observation is an immense power, but few know how to use it to their advantage. If your attention has the power to bring to life the experiences you reinforce the most, the essential question is, where are you directing your energy right now? In the next few minutes, you will understand how your personal vibration interacts with what you observe and how to align your focus with your spiritual frequency to transform your reality experience. How to align your focus with your spiritual frequency. The relationship between observation and vibration is one of the fundamental principles of universal spirituality. Spiritual masters have always taught that reality is not a fixed set of events, but rather a reflection of the energy each individual emits through what they choose to perceive. In practical terms, this means that to change your life experience, you must first change the quality of your attention. But how do you align your observation with your spiritual frequency? The first step is to develop awareness of where your attention has been invested. If you are constantly noticing lack, difficulties, and challenges, your vibration will be conditioned to reinforce those patterns. On the other hand, when you train your mind to recognize abundance, solutions, and harmony, your energetic field adjusts to this new reality. The second step is to cultivate internal states that elevate your vibration. Emotions such as gratitude, love, and joy are high frequencies that naturally attract experiences aligned with this energy. When you direct your observation to recognize small moments of beauty, connection, and synchronicity in everyday life, your vibration strengthens, creating a positive cycle of manifestation. Additionally, it is essential to practice detachment from negative observation. Often, people unconsciously reinforce patterns they do not want simply because they continue paying attention to them. This does not mean ignoring challenges or living in denial, but rather consciously choosing where to place your focus and energy. In the end, your life will always reflect what you observe and energetically reinforce the most. If your attention is aligned with elevated states of consciousness, your reality will shape itself according to this vibration. If your observation remains stuck in limiting patterns, your experience will continue to reflect those limitations. Throughout this video, you have understood that your attention is not just a passive mechanism of perception, but rather a powerful tool for creation. What you choose to observe frequently not only shapes your experience, but also defines the vibration you emit to the universe. Life does not happen randomly. It responds to what you focus on and strengthen with your energy. When your observation becomes conscious and aligned with your true desires, your reality begins to reflect this new internal state. Now that you understand this principle, the essential question is, how do you want to use this knowledge moving forward? Your attention is the key to transforming your experience. Everything begins with a simple act of awareness, choosing to observe what strengthens the life you want to manifest. Remember, reality is a mirror of what you perceive. So from now on, what do you want to see with greater clarity?